talk during the presentation. Listen, please.
Okay, this
Quiet.
is the best.
Quiet.
I'm trying to hear about this.
This is the best PowerPoint ever. As you see, when it came up, it went all whirly and went BAM! This is my Camp IT Summer Work Experience 2011. I'm Daniel S. Race from Lester-Owens. How did Camp IT make a difference in my life? First of all, I learned some new programs like Scratch and App Inventor, which I thought were really enjoyable, and I look forward to using those more later on. I learned some new information, like about password security, and I'll go through that later. I gained practice in programming, work experience, and I made money. Next slide. First thing we learned about was passwords and internet safety. We learned about secure passwords. What I thought was interesting is the securest passwords are actually 3-word or more passwords, and not a bunch of random symbols and stuff. Learned about secure browsing and how easy it can be for someone to stoop in on what you're doing if you don't have secure browsing. Hackers' motivations, how they used to be about showing out how good they were with coding, and now it's about trying to get you to give them your money to fix your computer. Vulnerable accounts, things you wouldn't think people would bother hacking, like World of Warcraft. People can actually sell those accounts for money. And PQ, we learned about all the different sites that you can go on to find information about people just with their name. Next. Here's an image of a hacking attempt on a Facebook page. You can see you have to enter in a CAPTCHA because they want to prove you're not a robot. Next. GIF. We learned about making web-ready images, GIFs, JPEGs, PNGs, and what they're all good for. Gradients, fading from one color to another, clone tool to help fix images, filters to add cool effects like glows and mosaics, and smart selection where it actually tells where the edge of something is so you can select it. Next. Here's an image that I made with GIF. It's the most awesome image in the entire universe.
Yes.
Go back. You see I've got a lens effect, I got a swirly with a gradient, text, a filter, and here is some smart selection. Okay. Go now. Audacity, learned about importing files, learned about recording from the built-in speaker on the laptop, trimming and splitting files so you can get rid of parts you don't want, audio effects like echoes or reversing the file so it sounds all backwards talking, and you can tell all the hidden messages and satanic music and such, and downloading files and MP3s from YouTube and converting just stripping out the audio. Here's a screenshot. You see I selected this and I'm about to reverse it. Just gonna get all wacky sounding. Next. Windows Movie Maker. I was actually out of the room for the instruction on this, but I sort of picked it up later. Learned about recording video from the built-in camera. Trimming, like the previous one. Titles. So the title appears. That's all awesome title slidey thing. Transitions. So it can fade from one to another, or it can be a star wipe, or like a circle wipe, or a square wipe, or a top to bottom wipe, or a bottom to top wipe, or a side to side wipe, or the other side to the other side wipe. And filters like before.
Sorry about that. Go ahead. You done?
No, back up. There was a screenshot.
Ooh.
And I got the title. The title goes whoop, and then it fades into me. And I'm all weird looking because it's got a filter on it. Next. We learned about web design and how to make a blog, learned about HTML with all code and little angly bracket things. We learned about CSS, so you can change all your pages at once and make it all look all cool like, so it's not all lame like in the 90s. Database management, we learned how to upload files onto the internet, and I got an awesome site on the internet that is awesome. It's called Awesomeopolis. We did WordPress. Templates, basically CSS, to change the layout of the page, plugins, to do interesting things like embedding YouTube videos, pages, how to have multiple pages on the same site, and index.html is how you make a site the home page instead of the little directory thing where you got the little colon and the arrows, and it's got a little arrow that goes down and to the right, and all little thingies. Just go right to that page. Next. Here's an image of the site I made for Ant-Man. He's the awesomest of all superheroes. And here's, alright, it's totally Awesomopolis, not Awesomopolis. Sample page, you got a page for a blog. You got Foot, I forgot, baby. Ant-Man. And there's a calendar over there, because calendars are awesome. Next. Scratch. Scratch was really cool. I made a game. Costumes, changing how a sprite looks. You can have a dog, and the dog gets shot, and the dog goes all bleh. And then you've got events. It's an events-based program. So when one thing happens, another thing happens, which is sort of like Multimedia Fusion 2, a game design program we used before for school. Broadcasting, basically, they can send out a signal. One sprite can send out a signal to another sprite, and it's like, hey, the game's over! And all the sprites go like, what? Game's over? Okay. And they all disappear, and it goes, do 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 do. Variables, condition, which you can change, like the level number, and have things change depending on that. Conditional statements, if level number is equal to 5, then the screen is blue, because blue is awesome. Setting sources, how to add comments in the code or in the comments on the whole thing, saying where you got your stuff from. Next slide. And here's my game. It's called Twilight Sparkle's Research Adventure from My Little Pony. That's Twilight Sparkle. She's a unicorn. She's got magic powers. She's trying to catch that thing. It's hairspray. But the ghosts are all like, woo, we're going to get you. If you touch it, this is the code for touching it, you die. Dying is bad. Ponies should not die.
No.
Alice / Storytelling Alice. It's a sequential processing thing. So things by default will happen in order. But if you don't want them to go in order, you can have them in do together, so they happen at the same time. But if you want something in that to happen in order, you can put do in order inside that. You can also use that to copy it. Recording and exporting video. You go to the file little thingy, I think, and it's export, and then you hit play and record, and then you hit stop recording and you hit export, and then you get yourself a video, which is awesome. Methods, little mini programs that each object has. There can be simple ones like turn to face or move, or Storytelling Alice has more complicated ones like walk, where they're pre-programmed. Vehicles, where one thing can move with another thing, just by default. So it's always stationary or whatever, all the motion is relative to that object. Billboards is just importing an image from your hard drive or the internet or whatever, and having that as a two-dimensional thingy in your world. And also scenes in Storytelling Alice, so you can change from one scene to another. So it can be like the dog gets shot and he goes all bleh, and then the next one is the funeral for the dog and everyone's crying and they're like, oh, poor Fido, he's dead now because he went bleh. Because that's generally what dogs do when they die. So tripods, you can move from one camera to another. So you don't have to have like the guy with the camera going and following the funeral procession. Next. Here's an image of Storytelling Alice. Or no, this is just Alice. That's really complicated because you have to rotate the leg forwards and back and forwards and back, and you have to do that over and over again. But here Alice walks over to him, and he says, die, and he says, okay, and his head pops off, and he falls down, and then sinks into the ground. This thingy sinks into the ground, the courthouse thingy, the city hall, and Twilight Sparkle's behind it, but she's just a billboard, so she's flat. And then she flies off like Superman, like, doo! And you're Storytelling Alice, they're clowns and they're in love. Because, you know, ain't nothing funny about clown love.
Ha 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 ha.
Zap Inventor, which is really cool. I made a dice app. You can add media, like pictures or audio. So you can play sounds when certain things happen. You click on the dice and they go rattle, rattle, rattle. Because, you know, dice make that sound. If you clicked on the dice and it went moo, that would just be weird. Changing images, so you click on it, and it changed from like 6 pips to 5 pips to 4 pips or 82 pips or whatever. 53.5 pips. Changing properties, so you can change how wide it is, or how small it is, big it is, where it is on the screen. So like whack-a-mole, it goes bloop, 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 and you're like, ah, moles everywhere, call the exterminator. And then clock, like every half a second it happens, but we can have it happen like every 1,000th of a second because they're like super moles, and they're like all popped up on kryptonite or not kryptonite. What's the like super soldier serum or steroids or whatever? Use info from phone, like contact information. So you can have an app where you can call it up and, oh, here's Bobby McBoberson's picture. I'm gonna click on him. I can do phone things like it can vibrate and you can make a call like, hey, Mr. McBoberson, how's it going? Next. Here's a picture of my dice app. It's awesome. You see, it starts out, the roll buttons, you click them, pop, and we go rattle, rattle, and the device shakes. And you see random numbers like 413413. And you can hit the button and it'll say that. It'll say 413413. And when you shake it, they all do that too. Wither my life, where's my life headed? If not for politics, I'll probably go into programming or game design. That's funny because I was kind of distracted because there was music playing. I almost typed, if not politics, I will probably go into politics, which would have been stupid. I really only have a general idea of how to get there. Maybe entering as a game tester, which I've heard is a good entry-level job. Making sure I major in the right things in college. To get here, I need an education in programming and game design, as well as, oops, that should be an N. Wait, hold on.
Many.
That should just not be there. There. It's not there anymore. See? No, it's not there.
They're fine.
Opportunity, as well as opportunities to practice and build up a resume. You can see I got the little dashy thingies over the E because that's how it's spelled, and that's awesome. Because the little dashy thingies over the letters are like the best thing in the entire universe.
Okay.
And I thought this was really useful.